It's Friday, and I'm back with the next in our Fanzine Friday series. Today we're taking a look at the Dungeon Master number 6. Please stick around. I'm AZ Mountaineer. This is our channel, Old School Rules, a place for everyone that loves classic RPGs and anyone who'd like to learn more about them. Each week on the Fanzine Friday series, I take a fanzine from my collection off the shelf for a closer look. Today from 1977, this is the Dungeon Master number 6. Hope you enjoyed the video. This week we're continuing our look at this really cool fanzine from the early era of the hobby called the Dungeon Master. This is from Iowa City, and it's the Dungeon Master. It's regular 8.5 by 11 paper, a couple staples down the side. This particular one I can tell was folded in half and mailed because it's got someone's address here on the back page. But these have been really fun. So let's take a look here. Here's our cover, and you can see the artwork is a ship. And then all the men on there have their shields set up as if they're in battle. It looks like there's flames going on either on the ship or around the ship. Just kind of very cool. Again, sometimes I really like this artwork that's more my level. This is the kind of thing you might have drawn in your notebook while you were kind of bored in high school or something like that. So it gives you that, like, to me, a very authentic feel. These guys are just almost like something I could have done, but didn't have the gumption to do back in the day. Cool stuff in here. We got a short editorial. I'll give you some information there in a minute. A short story called The Dagon, which is quite cute. It's by an 8-year-old girl. Carnivorous plants. There are about 10 or 15 different ideas in there. Merchants, the idea of some ideas around having merchants in your campaign. The Jedi, because everyone needs to talk about that at some point in their fantasy campaign. New monster and some new magic items. War engines and reporters, like journalists. These guys like to do some silly stuff sometimes. Richard Mueller is the heart and soul of this, but as we'll mention in here, he's handing over the reins. Mark Moore is a guy who's joined them and is focused on weapons, talking about all kinds of different weapons that aren't in the regular D&D rules. Phil Benz, and he's going to take over being in charge of the fanzine next issue. Jennifer Truitt's the young girl who wrote the story. Greg Jacobs, Siegfried Nelson, and Dennis Waltman also with contributions. So you'll see here in the editorial the number one thing it says at the top, right? Change of command, and that's a discussion about somebody else being in charge of the fanzine. He's like, it's time to start our second season. Yes, indeed. Dungeon Master is now 1 year old this month. That makes me think that it's probably midsummer, right? Because if you remember in one of the earlier issues, they said their goal had been to get this out for Gen Con 9, which was August of 1976. So that would make this somewhere around July. Also in here, they mentioned Mark Moore's column will continue when he gets back from Florida, and they say who goes to Florida in July, right? So it's July or August, something like that. They give a little bit of information about the what's going to be in the contents this time around, and again, give you the names of the new people who will be in charge, because as he says, Phil Benz will take over, Greg Jacobs, Alan Guile, and Lloyd Dunn will be the leadership team here. As he says, many people have moved, married, or matriculated. So it sounds like probably they're moving between high school and college. That's what I would guess, or maybe they're moving from college on to life. It's not clear to me exactly how old these guys were at the time. They've got their acknowledgments down here because they're good guys at this point, right? And they say, as always, we want to mention the wonderful folks who make it all possible, our good friends in Lake Geneva, TSR. Who are the creators and owners of D&D, TSR Games, and produce the game, the Dragon Magazine, the Little Wars Magazine. And then they also say they're big fans of the Judges Guild and encourage people to support both of those companies by buying their products. They mentioned a couple places where you can buy their fanzine. The Iowa City Wargaming Confederation. They talk a little bit about their group, and they play, it looks like, most Saturdays and some other days during the week. And they also mentioned that in addition to this effort, they have the Wargaming magazine or fanzine they put out called Swabbers, and some guy in their group named Jerry Terrell is releasing something called Games of Senseless Violence. And the first game is going to be John Kistner's Crows and Owls. And they said it's about the power politics in ancient India. And Richard says he's played it and it's pretty fun. So I've never heard of that before, but that's probably not a game I would have seen. So this is super sweet. I don't know how in the world they came upon it. It's called The Dragon. I'm assuming these typos came from the kid. AJ Jennifer Truitt writes this. I'll read it to you. It's good, right? One day I was coming from my house. I saw a door in the wall. I didn't know what to do. I decided to open it. Inside, I saw a castle. I went in. Inside, I saw a king. The king told me to go in the dungeon and fight trolls and dragons. So I went in the dungeon. I saw a hobbit. He was scared. I said, "Come with me." So he did. All of a sudden, we saw something. It was a dragon. I took my sword and I killed him. The king gave me some gold. Me and the hobbit went. When we got out of the door was gone. Me and the hobbit went home to my house. I think it's awesome. And I think if you were 8, maybe that's what it looks like when your older sibling was playing D&D too, right? And then this really fun artwork at the bottom, and you'll see they've got their little mascot dragon down there behind these 2 little characters. This is a fun one. I think people overlook plants sometimes in their D&D game, and you should not do that. They can be really good, and I think we are programmed to look for sort of moving monsters, right? Humanoid monsters or creepy crawling monsters going around in the dungeon. And sometimes you're sleeping on the idea that plants can be really good challenges because they're not expected. Okay, here are their ideas real quick. The egophage is a 10-inch conical blue mushroom. Always good to get some funky looking mushrooms in there, right? In wooded areas. On a 40% chance they'll release their spores when the party passes nearby. Doesn't say exactly how close you need to get. Doesn't say exactly. They just basically say if it happens, someone in the party will inhale the spores. I don't know about that, but I think there'd have to be a chance. You roll probably what I would do, right, to inhale. And maybe at that point there needs to be a saving throw, because if not, and they don't give you that, they just say basically if you're infected, you're going to die, unless someone figures out what's going on and maybe figures out a way to cure that. I'm not sure what that would be, but it will take over your body and then imitate the character. And then every day, at the end of the day, you're dead and you're basically complete. Now there's really just a plant inside of your body making you move. And then they will get next to another person in the party and basically auto-infect them by putting spores. I don't know if you breathe in their mouth at night or what, but you put spores into their body. The same thing keeps happening until the entire party is infected, and now they're all plants, and then they will come together and root down and basically feed off of come out of your body or grow through your body. Your bodies become the food, and there'll be a new little mushroom down there. They say a clerical cure is effective if given within 2 hours of the start of the infection. And again, they don't even tell you you're infected, other than maybe you'd say you see spores, and then you'd randomly figure out who's infected. I don't know. You got to be a little more helpful to the party than what it says, but the idea is good. Jack in the Pulpit. This plant holds a tiny green creature who can attack up to 6 inches high. He'll use a little dagger. Does 1 to 8 points of damage, which I think when most weapons only did 1 to 6. They cause mischief, and they can cause things to fall on the party, like tree limbs or fruit to fall out of trees, and they'll basically just try to keep you away from their plant, which is their home. Pebble mold, and now we're getting into some good stuff. This is found in dank dungeons. It has a body buried 2 feet underground with 1 to 100 appendages that grow up out of it and look like little pebbles on the floor. So that would be the description if they had light. Each pebble little bud has a little sack of acid in it. And when you go over, not only can you step on them and set off the acid, but when you get over top of the main body, which is wherever that happens to be in the floor, then the pebbles will it can cause its pebbles to squirt out their acid. 1 to 3 points of damage each. Remember, there can be up to 100 of them, hitting different party members. The acid will dissolve flesh or metal, and if they dissolve your flesh, then they begin to absorb that down through the little pods into the main body. The only way to damage it is to figure out where the main body is, get down through the earth, and stab it or set it on fire, whatever you would want to do. So that's pretty good little trap. The pitcher plant. It says they grow in potholes. I would assume there is a hole and they sort of cover it, and they say it'll look normal. And somehow they use a charm ability, 5% chance per year level to break the charm. So again, it seems like it's automatic. That's not right. I don't think that's too high. But anyway, they would try to charm you and get you to come in, or if you randomly just walk and fall in, and then they just release a liquid that dissolves your body, and 3 to 18 points of damage per round from the digestive juices. The Rage Eater feeds off of rage. It's like a mold, like a green slime. It likes to get up on the top of doorways or ceilings of caverns or dungeons and fall on somebody. And again, no saving throw, but I think you need to give them one. If it falls on you, you go into a berserker rage and you'll attack whatever's around you, which probably is the party. The Snapdragon. These have little flowers about the size of your fist, and there can be 1 to 10 of them on a stalk, and there's a chance that they can breathe a little bit of fire, and if not, they'll bite you. And so they can burn you for some amount of damage. It says like a dragon. I think you'd have to figure out maybe D10 is what I'm thinking is appropriate, because it seems like a lot for a little tiny mouth. But the other ones can bite you, and basically they just try to eat you. They have spider vines, which are, again, you got to be in a forested area, and they'll just basically drop down it's sentient, it'll drop down vines, try to wrap you up, and get a hold of you. And if they can get several a hold of you, then it'll begin to strangle you and constrict you, and then eventually it will pull you up and basically, I guess, consume you. The Spinifex bush is sort of a shrub and a trunk, and basically it's a very passive animal. Or plant, if you get in the area, they can grow roots really rapidly, and they'll try to wrap you up, like maybe if you slept there. They'll put 2 roots around you, and then a third one will attempt to paralyze you. I don't know how it does that. Maybe it grows into your back or your spine or something, and then a fourth one will come in and try and suck the life juices out of you. So that's pretty nasty. The sundew plant looks like the terrain, and I guess it's probably like a weed that would grow, or a vine that would grow out, is what I'm thinking. And anyway, when you're sort of in the middle, it will shoot out this little spray like a web spell and try to stick you in the middle and get you pulled down. The vine sort of stretch and pull you down to the ground, and then it basically tries to wrap you up and dissolve you. And then we have the touch me not, which are little tiny buds, and if you touch one, they sort of explode, and it's 1 to 6 points of damage. And I think the funny thing is, obviously, there could be up to 30 of these, and when one goes off, the idea would be, I think, that then it would cause others to go off, right? So there's like this chain reaction. It could be a lot of fun as little explosions go off everywhere around the party. And then finally, we have the classic Venus flytrap, which is exactly what it sounds like. The big open mouth. It'll try and chomp you if you get too close. And it'll obviously try to attack you with surprise. We have an article here on merchants. I think it's helpful in the sense that we all know there are merchants moving things around. They're great sort of opportunities for the characters to service guards between villages. That's kind of a classic storyline, but he just has a good chart here with different, I think they're obvious what they are, lists of types of merchants: cloth, goods, grain, jewels, leather, lumber, magic, money, salt, slaves, a smith, spices, stock, stone, wine. I think just to sort of give you some ideas to think about what type of things maybe a merchant is trying to move along. And he has some different ideas about how much his stuff is probably in with a particular merchant, and the kind of guards that you would expect to have with a merchant, which again are good things to think through, right? The more valuable it is, either you'd have lots of guards, or you'd be trying to sort of go stealth and not draw attention to yourself, and you'd have to think that through. All right, so of course, at some point you have to talk about the idea of bringing the Jedi Knights into your fantasy campaign. Okay, so their version of the Jedi class starts off, it's going to be pretty hard to do. You've got to find one, which they say that in and of itself should be a quest because they're solitary. And then you take your intelligence and wisdom, you add your level to that. So let's say you had a 15 intelligence, you were 5th level, that becomes a 20. You have to roll percentile dice, and you have to roll with percentile dice, you have to roll under the intelligence number plus level and under the wisdom. And if you do that, you're assumed to have passed the test. And the Jedi that you have found will then take you under his or her wing and teach you. You can take the test once per level and only 3 times total. So that also can limit that pretty severely if you're going to really make people roll those dice. The upside, if you get in there, is you're going to get yourself a lightsaber. They don't really deal with any kind of force things, although maybe it's a way to do that. They say you'll gain psionic ability. At some point, the DM determines after you've been a Jedi for a while, you can get your psionic abilities. But basically, you get the lightsaber. This is what they say. If you get a critical, it causes, severs a limb or decapitates somebody. It's basically never runs out, so it gives you light, and the power source is infinite. It's weightless, and if any hit you make will cause someone to save versus paralyzation or be stunned. And then you can get different colors, and the colors will give you, as you level up, and they will give you pluses. Starts at +1, maximum is +5, and the damage goes from 1 to 10 to 5 to 50. And it also lowers, as you go up in Jedi level, it lowers your armor class. So from -1 when you start off up to when you're 17th level, then you would get a -5 bonus. Okay, some new monsters and one new monster and a couple magic items. The pterosaur is a pterodactyl, but really big, and that's kind of it. 10 to 20 hit dice. That's a lot. In terms of magic, it's called Man's Magic. They've changed their name. The Forever Torch. It is constantly lit with a bright red, noiseless, and heatless flame. It never goes out and will not ignite, but it will not ignite anything. Kind of sounds like a flashlight. There are some ruins there, and it can let out a cone of fire equal in size and damage to an old gold dragon. That seems way too powerful. And after it does that, it will burn as normal for 1 day, and then it will go out forever. So that's that. So probably, I guess that's sort of the flame weapon as an emergency use. A fire crystal. It's a little multifaceted crystal or gem. It goes over the end of the torch, and it triples the intensity and reach of the light that is given off. Once you put it on, you can never take it off. And if you use the emergency fire breath, it will be double damage. Okay, and then we have the flame crystal, which is the cursed version of that. It says it's exactly the same as the fire crystal, but when you try to use the magic to let the flame, a cone of flame, fire out, it will fire backwards at you instead of at your enemy. So that's a little tricksy. Next, we have a quick article on war engines being like siege equipment you would use in a battle. This is kind of their continuing thing to talk about all the kinds of different weapons you could have here. And they have ballistas, and they have drawings here at the bottom, right? The springale, the mangonel, and the trebuchet. All these different types of siege weapons you could use if you got into some kind of campaign where that was going to be relevant. And then we have a sort of random character class called the Reporter. As he says, in my world, this person is responsible for gathering information, rumors, and so forth. So, I mean, again, could be a interesting NPC to have somebody who sort of basically their thing is to gather rumors and so forth. I don't think anybody wants to play a reporter as their character class. But if you did, then you've got this guy's ability all statted out here. Look at the artwork. This full page art, again, they often did that on the first page. This guy, some sort of creature riding like a pterodactyl. And then in the before you get to the siege weapon article, there is this giant triceratops with some goblin creatures or orc creatures or something like that on top of him. And then there's actually a little bit of art here on the back cover this time. You've got the mascot up there at the top where the postage went, and then you've got Phil Bentz has got two little drawings here of a couple of different soldiers. Better look at that. Actually, maybe somebody different has done the second one, huh? Maybe Phil just did the one on the left, and there is a little signature that I can't read. Maybe Liz? Done the person on the right who's kind of on fire. All right, that's our look at the Dungeon Master number 6. Hope you enjoyed today's video. Hope you're enjoying this series, and I hope you're subscribed. If you have friends who might enjoy this content, please send them our way. Hopefully they'll be part of the community as well. Have a great Friday. Have a great rest of the weekend. And until next time, my friends, keep rolling 20s.